Welcome to Immigration Nation Podcast. I'm your host today, Patrick, and I'm here today to talk to you about immigration bonds. What is an immigration bond? Well, an immigration bond is when you've been held by immigration officials because typically you've committed some crime. So, for example, let's suppose you get arrested for DUI or you get arrested for domestic violence, and you've been arrested and immigration officials have been notified. Now you're being held by immigration officials. So what do you do if a bond's been set? And let's suppose, based upon that arrest, they've decided to hold you without bond. One of the most important things that you need to know is you may be entitled to a bond hearing. First, it's important to know that not every individual is eligible for a bond. So, for example, if you've committed an aggravated felony, it's very likely that you're not going to be bond eligible. But let's suppose that's your only arrest. Now, you're going to be facing an immigration judge, and you are entitled to a bond hearing. But before you request a bond hearing, this is important because you only get one, is that you're prepared for that bond hearing. My advice is that you would get an attorney before you request a bond hearing. Now, you're in front of a judge and you're going to request a bond. Why are you doing that? Because you want to be released, right? You want to be released from detention. What is the judge going to consider in a bond hearing? There are two things. First, are you a flight risk? How do you show the judge that you're not? Well, there are a number of ways to do that. For example, show the judge that you're employed. Show that the judge that you own a home, for example, that you have ties to the community, that you have children. Those are the things which can convince the judge you are not a flight risk. But that's only one of two parts. The second thing the judge must consider is whether you are a danger to the community, which means that based upon your crimes or your criminal history, you pose a danger to the community. Now, this is where it becomes really important. For example, you've got to understand that the government has access to all your criminal records and also has access to your arrest report. That's why an attorney can go through it and first tell you whether you're even bond eligible, or two, do they anticipate that you're going to be held without bond. An attorney will argue on your behalf that you be released. Now, an important thing that sometimes you'll hear is that if you're in an immigration court, an individual asked to be released OR, on their own recognizance. An immigration judge is not allowed to do that. The minimum bond is $1,500. A lawyer will obviously argue for the least amount of bond possible. You may also hear the government attorney say ATD. What ATD means, alternative to detention. That could be that you have to make calls, let's say once a month, to immigration officials, or it could also mean that you'll be placed on an ankle monitor. That is an alternative to detention, and oftentimes a immigration attorney that's representing you won't oppose an alternative to detention because at least you're released. So hopefully today I've given you a little knowledge about the immigration bond process. Thanks for being with me today. I encourage you to leave questions and comments in the comment section.